10 Must-Do Moments Before You Reach Heaven. By David Russo. Chapter 1. Discover Your True Purpose. Before your time on earth draws to a close, there is one moment that matters more than almost any other: discovering why you were here in the first place. Purpose is not a luxury reserved for the extraordinary, it is the oxygen your soul has been quietly breathing since the moment you arrived. And yet, many people live entire lives without ever pausing long enough to uncover what they were uniquely created to do. Purpose rarely shows up with flashing lights or a dramatic revelation. More often, it whispers. It nudges. It lingers in the daydream you keep returning to, the talent that comes naturally, the cause that breaks your heart, the moments when you feel most alive and least self-conscious. Purpose leaves clues scattered throughout your life like breadcrumbs, waiting for the moment you decide to follow them. Discovering your purpose begins with a simple but courageous question: what was I made for? At first, the question can feel frightening because it suggests responsibility. If you were made for something, then you are accountable for pursuing it. But it is also a liberating question because it means your life is not random. You were shaped with intention. Your experiences, both triumphant and painful, have been molding you into someone capable of a specific kind of contribution. This journey requires honesty. To uncover your purpose, you must peel back the layers of who you've been told to be. Family expectations, cultural pressures, fear of failure, and the desire for approval often disguise themselves as truth. Many people wake up one day realizing they have spent decades living someone else's idea of a meaningful life. But purpose does not thrive in imitation. It only flourishes when you dare to be authentic, even if that authenticity is messy or misunderstood. Ask yourself, when have I felt most aligned with myself? Think of the moments that felt like home, not physically, but spiritually. Perhaps it was when you were helping someone in a way only you knew how. Maybe it was when you created something, solved something, taught something, or loved someone with a depth you didn't know you had. Purpose often emerges in these moments, disguised as ordinary experiences but carrying extraordinary meaning. You may discover that your purpose is not a single grand calling but a series of smaller, sacred assignments. Some people change the world by leading movements, others do it by raising a child, listening deeply, offering compassion, or showing courage in unseen places. Purpose is not measured by size. It is measured by alignment, by how closely your actions reflect the truth of who you are. And yet, purpose is not static. It evolves as you evolve. What called to you in your youth may shift as your heart matures, as you experience loss, or as you gain wisdom. This is not confusion, it is growth. Your soul is always guiding you toward the next version of your purpose, the next way you can serve, the next expression of your gifts. To resist this evolution is to shrink. To embrace it is to live fully. If you feel unsure, if purpose still feels hidden beneath your responsibilities, your routine, or your doubts, know this: the search itself is sacred. Seeking purpose is a form of faith, a declaration that your life is meaningful even if you haven't yet uncovered exactly how. Every question you ask, every step you take, every reflection you make is part of the unfolding. One day, you will look back and realize that purpose was not a destination but a journey of becoming. It was found in your growth, your courage, your willingness to listen, and your decision to honor the quiet truth inside you. When you finally reach the moment where heaven feels near, you will want to know that you lived a life guided not by fear or expectation but by intention, by the reason you were placed here. Discovering your true purpose is not just a moment, it is the foundation of every other moment that follows. And the world is waiting, quietly, hopefully, for the version of you that only you can become. Chapter 2. Mend the Bridges You've Burned. Before you reach the final stretch of your life, there comes a moment when you must turn around and face the wreckage you've left behind. Not to shame yourself, not to replay your mistakes like an endless film reel, but to repair what can still be restored and release what can never be rebuilt. Every person carries scars from broken relationships, some given, some received. To mend the bridges you've burned is not simply about reconciliation with others, it is a profound step toward reconciliation with yourself. Burned bridges are rarely intentional. They often come from seasons when you were hurting, overwhelmed, immature, or simply blind to the consequences of your actions. Sometimes you were the one who walked away. Other times, someone walked away from you, and in your pain, you struck a match you later wished you hadn't. Human relationships are fragile things, woven from moments of misunderstanding, pride, fear, and unmet expectations. But they are also wonderfully resilient when touched with humility and honesty. To mend a bridge, you must first acknowledge that something broke. This step alone requires courage. It is easier to blame, justify, minimize, or pretend you've already moved on. But true healing begins in truth. You cannot restore what you refuse to see. You must allow yourself to remember the conversations that turned sharp, the promises you didn't keep, the distance that widened without explanation. Not to punish yourself, but to gain clarity. Awareness is the first plank of the new bridge. Then comes forgiveness, a word that feels simple until you are the one asked to give it. Forgiveness is not about excusing behavior, it is about refusing to carry resentment into your future. Whether you are asking others for forgiveness or offering it to them, the act itself is liberating. It does not instantly repair the relationship, but it clears the debris that has been blocking the way forward. Sometimes forgiveness results in reconnection, sometimes it results in peace from afar. Either outcome is a victory. Reaching out to someone you've hurt can feel terrifying. You rehearse your words. You fear rejection, misunderstanding, or silence. But the power of a sincere apology, one free of excuses, defensiveness, or expectation, can soften even the most fortified heart. More importantly, it transforms you. It teaches you humility, accountability, and compassion. Every apology is a bridge-building moment, even if the other person chooses not to cross it. And what about the bridges that cannot be mended? The people who are no longer here, the relationships too unsafe to revisit, the ones that ended in ways that cannot be undone. Healing does not require reopening old wounds. Sometimes the only bridge you are meant to rebuild is the internal one, the one between your heart and your past. You can still release bitterness, still offer forgiveness silently, still grieve the loss of what might have been. Not all restoration happens between two people. Much of it happens within your own soul. Mending bridges also means cleaning up the patterns that caused the damage in the first place. Maybe it was your temper, your avoidance, your pride, your insecurity, your inability to be vulnerable. Whatever the pattern, it deserves your attention. Otherwise, burned bridges simply become a habit instead of a lesson. Growth is the mortar that strengthens the next bridge you build, ensuring you don't repeat the mistakes you've already paid for. When your life nears its end, it is not achievements or possessions that bring comfort, it is relationships. The people you loved, the ones who shaped you, the ones who forgave you, and the ones you found the courage to forgive. Regret often comes not from what you did, but from who you couldn't bring yourself to reach out to. Do not wait until it is too late. Pride has stolen countless final moments. You don't have to let it steal yours. Healing old wounds is one of the most sacred gifts you can give yourself. It frees your heart to move forward without carrying unnecessary weight. It opens the possibility, however small or miraculous, of restored connection. And even when reconciliation does not happen, the act of trying brings you a kind of peace that no one can take away. Before you leave this world, let the bridges behind you be witnesses of courage, not casualties of stubbornness. Reach out. Speak honestly. Forgive deeply. Repair what still has life in it. By mending the bridges you've burned, you lighten your soul for the journey ahead. Chapter 3: Say what you've left unsaid. There comes a moment in every life when silence becomes heavier than truth. You begin to feel the weight of the words you never spoke, words of love, gratitude, apology, affirmation, and even boundaries. These unspoken sentences linger in your chest, waiting for a courage you once believed would arrive someday. But the closer you move toward the horizon of your life, the more urgently you realize that someday is not a guarantee. The time to speak is now. Many of us carry emotional drafts, unfinished conversations, unexpressed feelings, confessions that never found their voice. We hold them back for countless reasons: fear of vulnerability, fear of rejection, fear of stirring conflict, fear of looking foolish or weak. Sometimes we assume the people we love already know how we feel. Sometimes we convince ourselves that our apology would not matter or that our gratitude wouldn't change anything. But words have power, not because they fix everything, but because they reveal our hearts. To say what you've left unsaid is an act of courage. It requires acknowledging that relationships are fragile and temporary, not guaranteed to stretch indefinitely into the future. When you speak honestly, you choose connection over comfort, truth over timidity, love over the illusion of control. It is one of the greatest gifts you can give before your life concludes, the gift of nothing left unresolved or unexpressed. Start with the simple things, because they are not as simple as they seem. Tell the people who shaped you how deeply they impacted your life. Tell the ones you love exactly what they mean to you, not in vague gestures but in specific, heartfelt detail. Say thank you to the ones who stayed, who sacrificed quietly, who believed in you when you could not believe in yourself. These expressions are not small. They become treasures for the people you leave behind, words they will return to when they need strength, comfort, or a reminder that they mattered to someone. Then come the harder words, I'm sorry. For many, this is the phrase most often buried under pride and fear. But I'm sorry can soften years of distance, disarm decades of misunderstanding, and offer healing in places you assumed were permanently closed. Even if reconciliation doesn't follow, offering a sincere apology frees your spirit from the ache of regret. It tells the world, I tried. I made peace with my part in the story. Just as important are the words you need to speak for your own boundaries and truth. Sometimes the thing you've left unsaid isn't affection or apology, it's honesty. Perhaps you've carried pain in silence to avoid conflict. Perhaps you minimized your needs because you feared disappointing others. Perhaps you let assumptions go unchallenged because speaking up felt too risky. But at the end of your life, you deserve the relief of authenticity. Saying what is true, kindly, respectfully, yet firmly, allows your final chapter to be lived in integrity, not suppression. And then, there are the blessings. The words that lift others. The wisdom you've lived but never shared. The encouragement someone you love desperately needs but would never ask for. Speak your blessings while you're here to witness the light they ignite. Too many blessings are spoken over graves when they could have been spoken into hearts. It is also important to recognize that speaking your truth doesn't guarantee the reaction you hope for. Some people may not receive your words with the openness you desire. But the value of saying what you've left unsaid is not found in the outcome, it is found in the offering. Once spoken, those words become part of your legacy, part of the healing you chose, part of the courage you cultivated. As life nears its twilight, it's often the unsaid words, not the unsolved problems, that linger in our minds. We regret the text we never sent, the phone call we postponed, the compliment we withheld, the apology we rehearsed but never delivered. We regret assuming we had more time. But you do have time, right now. Enough time to soften a heart, to mend a misunderstanding, to fill a silence with honesty and love. Enough time to leave behind not confusion, but clarity, not distance, but closeness, not questions, but answers. When your journey finally leads you toward the horizon, may you go knowing your heart is empty of unspoken truths and full of the words you were brave enough to share. Let nothing meaningful remain trapped in silence. Speak now, and let your voice become part of the healing that follows you long after you're gone. Chapter 4, Leave a legacy that outlives you. At some point, every person asks a question that lingers long after it's spoken: what will remain when I am gone? This question does not come from vanity but from the deep human desire to matter, to know our existence left an imprint on the world beyond the limits of our own lifetime. A legacy is not merely what you leave behind, it is what you set in motion while you are still here. It is the echo of your character, your values, your love, and your courage long after your voice has grown quiet. Many people assume legacy is reserved for the famous, the visionaries, leaders, artists, or pioneers whose names fill history books. But true legacy has little to do with applause or recognition. Legacy is crafted in the everyday moments, the unseen sacrifices, the choices you make when no one is watching. It is the life you live, not the headlines you earn. Some of the greatest legacies in this world belong to people whose names are rarely spoken but whose influence shaped countless lives in invisible ways. Leaving a legacy begins with asking yourself what you want your life to stand for. Not what you achieved, but who you became. Not what you accumulated, but what you contributed. Your legacy flows from your values, your kindness, integrity, resilience, generosity, faithfulness. These qualities ripple outward, touching people far beyond your immediate circle. A single moment of compassion can become a memory someone carries for decades. A simple act of encouragement can alter the course of a person's life. Legacy grows in these small, intentional acts. You do not need to create something monumental to leave something meaningful. But you may. Perhaps there is a book inside you that could inspire someone you've never met. Perhaps you hold wisdom that deserves to be passed down to children, grandchildren, or anyone who will walk the path you once walked. Perhaps you have a story that could heal or empower, a skill that could uplift a community, a dream that could outlast your earthly years. Legacy often begins with a stirring inside, a desire to shape something that continues living even when you no longer do. Yet legacy is not only about what you create, it is also about what you invest in others. Every relationship is a legacy-building opportunity. When you mentor someone, you leave a part of yourself within their future. When you love someone well, they carry that love into every room they enter. When you teach, you multiply your influence across generations. When you model courage, someone else discovers their own. People become carriers of your legacy, whether you realize it or not. Of course, leaving a legacy also requires letting go of the fear that you are too small to make a difference. Many people hide their gifts or postpone their dreams because they believe their contribution is insignificant. But legacy is not measured by scale, it is measured by sincerity. It is not about changing the entire world, it is about changing someone's world. Even one life transformed is a legacy abundant enough to outshine years of hesitation. There is also a dimension of legacy that involves preparation. Ask yourself, what wisdom would I want future generations to hold? What values do I hope they will protect? What stories should they remember about who I was and how I lived? These are not morbid questions, they are love in its most intentional form. They give you the chance to shape the future with your voice, your insight, your lived experience. Whether you write a letter, record a message, create something tangible, or simply spend more time investing in the people who matter, you are laying foundations that will hold long after your footsteps fade. In the end, legacy is an act of gratitude, gratitude for the life you were given, and gratitude for the chance to give something back. It is the way you honor the gifts, the lessons, the blessings, and even the hardships that shaped you. When your final chapter closes, your legacy becomes the bridge others walk across. It becomes the proof that you lived with intention, with heart, with a desire not just to exist, but to contribute. Your legacy does not begin when you die, it begins now. With every choice, with every act of love, with every seed you plant in the lives around you. The question is not whether you will leave a legacy, you will. The question is what kind it will be. Let it be one that breathes life, inspires courage, deepens compassion, and reflects the very best of who you were meant to become. Chapter 5, Make Peace with Your Past. There comes a time in your life when you can no longer outrun the memories that trail behind you. Whether they are tender or painful, triumphant or shameful, they have shaped the landscape of your soul. Yet, as you draw closer to the final chapters of your journey, you realize that peace does not arrive on its own. It must be chosen. Making peace with your past is not about erasing what happened, it is about releasing its power to define who you are now. Every person carries a collection of moments they wish they could rewrite, decisions made in haste, chances not taken, words spoken in anger, relationships damaged by pride or fear, seasons when you were not the person you wanted to be. These memories can wrap themselves around your heart like vines, tightening each year, making it harder to breathe freely. But peace begins the moment you decide to stop fighting your past and start understanding it. To make peace with your past, you must first face it honestly. There is no healing in denial. Look gently but truthfully at the choices that haunt you. Not to drown in regret, but to acknowledge the humanity in every mistake. You were doing the best you could with the knowledge, strength, and emotional tools you had at the time. You may wish you had known better, but the truth is, you didn't. And that is okay. Compassion for your former self is one of the greatest gifts you can give your present self. Healing also means recognizing that you are not the same person you once were. The fact that you can look back and feel remorse, sadness, or disbelief at your past actions is proof of growth. It means your heart has matured, your values have shifted, and your awareness has deepened. Do not judge your past self from a place of present wisdom. That is like criticizing a seed for not yet being a tree. As you reflect, you may uncover wounds that were inflicted on you, betrayals, losses, traumas, or disappointments you had no control over. These injuries often leave the deepest scars, and they do not fade simply because time has passed. To make peace with your past, you must give these wounds space to breathe. Acknowledge the hurt you endured. Honor the strength it took to survive. And gently, in your own time, loosen your grip on the resentment that has kept you tethered to what cannot be undone. Forgiveness, both of yourself and others, is a crucial part of this process. But forgiveness is not forgetting, and it is not pretending everything is fine. It is choosing not to let bitterness consume you. It is freeing yourself from the emotional weight that was never meant to be carried for decades. Forgiveness is not a gift to the person who harmed you, it is a gift to the person you are becoming. Sometimes peace comes from closure, but closure does not always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it simply means accepting that a chapter has ended, even if it ended badly. It means letting the past be past, rather than trying to rewrite what has already been lived. When you stop demanding a different ending, you create room for a different beginning. Making peace also means acknowledging your victories. Too often, people focus on what went wrong and overlook the resilience, courage, and perseverance that brought them through. Your past is not only made of mistakes, it is made of survival. It is made of wisdom earned the hard way, strength forged in adversity, and quiet triumphs no one else saw. Give yourself credit for these things. They matter more than you realize. And as your life moves toward its final horizon, peace becomes more than a desire, it becomes a responsibility. You deserve to enter your final days without carrying the burdens of years gone by. You deserve to look back with softness instead of shame, gratitude instead of grief. Peace does not mean your past was perfect. It means you have decided to stop letting it steal your present. When you make peace with your past, something miraculous happens, you reclaim your future. The weight lifts. The memories lose their sting. Your heart becomes light enough to move freely, joyfully, and bravely into the days ahead. The past becomes not a prison, but a teacher, one that prepared you for the person you are finally ready to be. Chapter 6. Do the one thing you've always feared. Fear has a quiet way of ruling a life. It seldom shouts, it whispers. It plants doubts, questions, what-ifs, and worst-case scenarios. It convinces you that safety is synonymous with survival, that comfort is the same as peace, that risk is simply too costly. Over time, fear becomes a familiar companion, so familiar, in fact, that you may forget it has been dictating your choices. But when your life draws nearer to its end, something remarkable happens, your perspective sharpens, and you begin to see clearly the moments fear has stolen from you. Every person carries at least one fear that has shaped their journey. For some, it is the fear of failure. For others, the fear of rejection, conflict, vulnerability, success, change, loss, or disappointment. Whatever yours may be, it has likely influenced more decisions than you realize. It may have kept you from pursuing a dream, building a relationship, speaking your truth, or stepping into an unfamiliar but beautiful chapter of life. And so, before you leave this earth, you owe it to yourself to confront at least one fear, one meaningful fear, that has held you hostage. Not for the sake of thrill or adventure, but for the sake of reclaiming the part of you that fear silenced. Facing fear does not always require a grand gesture. Sometimes it's not about skydiving or climbing mountains, sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is say, I love you, or I'm scared, or I need help. Sometimes courage means walking away from something you've outgrown. Sometimes it means trying something new at an age when the world assumes you won't. Courage can be loud or quiet, seen or unseen, celebrated or unnoticed. What matters is that it is yours. When you decide to face a fear, you disrupt a lifetime of limitations. Fear thrives on avoidance. It gains strength every time you step back, shrink down, or stay silent. But the moment you lean toward what scares you, even slightly, something begins to shift. You prove to yourself that fear is not a fortress, it is a curtain. And on the other side of that thin barrier is a version of you who has been waiting patiently. Courage does not eliminate fear, it simply refuses to let fear make the final decision. You may still feel your heart race. Your voice may tremble. Your hands may shake. But bravery is measured not by the absence of fear, but by the presence of forward motion. Even a single step counts. Often, the thing you fear most is the very thing that carries the most potential for transformation. It is the door that leads to a part of your destiny you have not yet experienced. It is the conversation that could bring healing. The choice that could bring freedom. The risk that could bring meaning. Fear hides these possibilities behind a thick fog of uncertainty, but when you dare to move through it, the fog clears, and you see what fear tried to keep from you. There is something sacred about doing the thing you've always feared before your life ends. It is a final declaration of agency, a reminder that fear never had the right to define your story. It is a way of saying, I was here, and I lived courageously. Imagine reaching the end of your life and knowing you didn't let fear decide who you became. Imagine leaving a world in which you modeled courage for the people you love. Your children, grandchildren, friends, or community may remember countless things about you, but they will never forget the moment you did something brave. Courage is contagious. It ripples outward, inspiring others to face their own fears long after you're gone. And even if the outcome of your brave moment is uncertain, even if you stumble, fail, or fall short, you will carry a deeper peace. Failure is far kinder than regret. Failure teaches, strengthens, clarifies. Regret only lingers, whispering reminders of what might have been. So, choose one fear. Name it. Look it in the eye. Tell it that you are no longer willing to live under its shadow. Then take one step, just one. You do not need to leap. You simply need to move. When your journey on this earth comes to a close, may you look back without the ache of, I wish I had been braver. May you leave this world knowing that at least once, you stood where your fear told you not to stand, and you did it anyway. Chapter 7, Love Without Restraint. If there is one thing people regret most at the end of life, it is not the things they loved too fiercely, but the things they loved too carefully. Love, in its purest form, is meant to flow, unfiltered, unmeasured, unguarded. Yet most of us learn to ration it. We set limits to protect ourselves from disappointment, rejection, or vulnerability. We love with caution instead of abundance. We love with fear instead of freedom. But before your final breath, there is a moment of profound clarity when you realize that the only love that mattered was the love you gave without restraint. To love without restraint does not mean loving recklessly or without wisdom. It means allowing yourself to show up fully, in kindness, compassion, generosity, and tenderness, without constantly calculating what you might lose. It means loving in a way that reflects your truest self, not the self shaped by past wounds or disappointments. Restraint often masquerades as maturity or protection, but more often, it is simply fear in disguise. Loving freely requires vulnerability. It means telling people what they mean to you, even when it feels uncomfortable. It means choosing forgiveness over pride, presence over distraction, connection over convenience. It means taking emotional risks, letting people in, even if you've been hurt before. Opening your heart does not guarantee you won't feel pain, but it guarantees you will feel life. Pain is temporary, love is eternal. One of the greatest tragedies is not the love that breaks your heart, but the love you never allowed yourself to give. So many people build emotional walls, imagining they will keep them safe. But walls do not protect, they only isolate. They shield you from hurt, yes, but they also shield you from joy, intimacy, laughter, belonging, and connection. They keep you from the full experience of being human. When your life is nearing its end, you will not remember the walls you built, you will remember the moments when you were brave enough to let them down. Loving without restraint also means loving people in the way they need to be loved, not just in the way you prefer to love. It means paying attention to their hearts, their fears, their dreams, their wounds. When you truly love someone, you see them. You listen. You notice the little things that make them feel valued, understood, and cherished. Love becomes not a grand gesture, but a daily practice, small, consistent acts of kindness that accumulate into something sacred. And this kind of love is not only for others. It is for yourself as well. Before your life is complete, you must learn to love yourself without the conditions you've carried for years. Love the parts of you that are messy, flawed, imperfect, and still growing. Love the parts of you that were shaped by pain. Love the younger version of you who made mistakes while trying to survive. Loving yourself without restraint is not selfish, it is necessary. It allows you to live with compassion, not shame, dignity, not doubt. Love without restraint also means loving the world with open hands. It means noticing beauty, appreciating moments, offering kindness to strangers, and extending generosity where it is least expected. It means being the kind of presence that softens hard days and brightens heavy hearts. You may never know the full impact of your love, but you can trust that every act of kindness ripples through time in ways far beyond your sight. When you reach your final days, you will realize that love was the real measure of a life well lived. Not how much you achieved, accumulated, or accomplished, but how deeply you blessed the lives around you. How you warmed the cold places. How you made someone feel less alone. How your love became a shelter, a spark, a healing balm, a reason for someone to keep going. In the end, your love will outlive you. It will echo in the stories people tell, in the lives they live differently because of you, in the memories they hold close when they miss you. Loving without restraint is not just an act, it is a legacy. So love boldly. Love generously. Love fully. Let your heart be soft, open, and unafraid to overflow. When you finally step into eternity, may you go knowing you did not withhold the very thing the world needed most from you, the unrestrained love only you could give. Chapter 8. Experience the wonder of the world. As your life draws nearer to its horizon, one truth becomes unmistakably clear: the world is far more extraordinary than we often remember to notice. Wonder is not reserved for the young or the adventurous, it is a gift meant for every soul, at every stage of life. Yet, in the rush of daily responsibilities, work, obligations, routines, we forget to pause long enough to experience the miracle of simply being alive. Wonder is the language of the soul. It's the quiet gasp you feel when you see a sky ablaze with color. It's the stillness that washes over you when you stand beneath ancient trees or hear the ocean breathing in and out. It is awe, wrapped in simplicity. And before your journey ends, you deserve to experience it intentionally, deeply, and wholeheartedly. Experiencing the wonder of the world does not always require a passport or a plane ticket. Though traveling to distant places can certainly widen your spirit, wonder is waiting everywhere, even in familiar spaces you have passed by hundreds of times without truly seeing. It can be found in the golden glow of a sunrise, the laughter of a child, the pattern of raindrops on a window, or the way the night sky shines like a cathedral of stars. Wonder is the art of paying attention. But there is something undeniably profound about stepping into places that make you feel small in the best possible way. Standing on a mountain ridge with the wind rushing past your face. Walking through forests where sunlight filters in as if painted by an unseen hand. Sitting beside a quiet river, listening to water carry secrets older than your memory. These moments remind you that life is bigger than your worries, richer than your fears, and more mysterious than your understanding. As you open yourself to wonder, something gentle begins to shift inside you. You loosen your grip on the things you cannot control. You become softer, more curious, more present. The burdens you've carried for years suddenly feel lighter, as though the vastness of creation itself is inviting you to rest. Wonder humbles you and uplifts you at the same time. It reminds you that while you are a small part of the universe, you are also a cherished one. Experiencing wonder is also a way of reconnecting with your inner child, the part of you that once marveled at fireflies, believed in endless possibilities, and saw magic in ordinary things. Life may have taught you caution, disappointment, or practicality, but wonder invites you to reclaim your sense of possibility. It asks you to look at the world as if for the first time, with eyes unclouded by cynicism or routine. This chapter of your life is not about checking places off a list, it is about embracing the fullness of the present moment. Maybe you will finally visit the place you've dreamed of for years, the ocean you long to touch, the mountain you long to see, the city whose streets called to you. Or maybe you will find that the greatest wonders were closer than you imagined, a quiet morning walk, a conversation that touches your heart, a moment of stillness where everything feels sacred. Wonder is also deeply spiritual. Whether or not you follow a particular faith, wonder opens the door to a sense of the divine, something bigger, wiser, and more beautiful than human understanding. It whispers that life is not random. That beauty is intentional. That you are part of a story far larger than your lifespan. Experiencing wonder prepares your heart for transcendence, for the mystery of what lies beyond this life. And there is no age too late to begin. The world does not stop revealing its miracles simply because you have lived many years. In fact, the older you become, the more deeply you may feel them. Experience gives depth to awe. Humility gives clarity to beauty. Mortality gives sweetness to every breath. When you look back on your life, you will not remember the errands, the obligations, or the deadlines. You will remember the moments when the world opened itself to you. The moments that took your breath away. The moments when you felt connected, to nature, to people, to the divine, to yourself. So go. Seek wonder. Invite awe into your life again. Stand in places that remind you of how magnificent this world truly is. Let every sunrise be a blessing and every quiet night a cathedral. Let the beauty of this world soften your spirit and prepare your heart for the journey that awaits beyond it. Chapter 9. Serve someone who can never repay you. There is a particular kind of goodness that shines brighter than anything money can buy or recognition can offer. It is the goodness that comes from serving someone who cannot repay you, someone with nothing to offer in return except their humanity. This kind of service is pure, uncalculated, and deeply transformative. It strips away ego and expectation and reveals the true capacity of the human heart. In a world where exchanges are often transactional, favor for favor, effort for reward, serving without expectation is a quiet rebellion. It is a declaration that love and dignity matter more than gain. It is a reminder that you are part of an interconnected human story, one in which the strongest acts of compassion often happen in silence, without applause, without credit, and sometimes without anyone witnessing them at all. When you serve someone who cannot repay you, you step into a sacred space. You cross a threshold from self-preservation into selflessness. You realize that the most meaningful contributions you will ever make are the ones that bring hope, relief, comfort, or dignity to another human being simply because you can. There is no agenda. No hidden motive. No scoreboard. Just the simple, powerful truth that someone needed help, and you offered it. Service does not have to be grand to be profound. It might be as humble as sitting with a lonely elder who has long been forgotten, offering your time and presence as a gift. It might be feeding someone who has no idea where their next meal will come from. It might be writing an encouraging note to someone who is suffering in silence. It might be giving a coat to a stranger without asking their story. It might be mentoring someone who is lost, overwhelmed, or young enough to need guidance. These small acts of love hold immeasurable weight. What makes this kind of service so powerful is that it changes both sides. The person you help receives support they could not have provided for themselves, but you, the giver, receive something just as valuable: perspective, gratitude, humility, a softened heart, a clearer understanding of what truly matters. Serving someone who cannot repay you reveals the best parts of who you are. It reminds you that your worth is not measured in accomplishments, but in compassion. Moreover, this kind of service breaks the illusion of separation. You begin to see yourself in the struggles of others. You remember that life is fragile and unpredictable, and that any one of us could find ourselves in a position of need. Helping someone who cannot repay you is an acknowledgement of shared humanity, one that transcends circumstances and honors the dignity in every person, no matter their condition. As you approach the later seasons of your life, these acts of service become some of the most meaningful memories you carry. Achievements may fade. Wealth will pass on. Possessions will lose their shine. But the faces of the people you helped, their gratitude, their relief, their quiet hope, those memories will stay with you. They will form a legacy of kindness that echoes far beyond your lifetime. Serving someone who cannot repay you also prepares your heart for eternity. It aligns you with the deeper truths of compassion, humility, and love. When you step beyond yourself to elevate someone else, you touch the part of life that is timeless. You become part of a ripple that extends far past your earthly years, influencing others in ways you may never see. And perhaps that is the most beautiful part: you don't need to see it for it to matter. Even as your days grow shorter, you can still serve. A kind word. A warm smile. A message of encouragement. A prayer. A moment of listening. Service does not diminish with age, it deepens. You carry wisdom, perspective, and tenderness that can bless others in ways only time could have taught you. When your journey is complete, you will want to know that you gave generously, that your hands and heart were open, that you left behind a world slightly kinder than the one you found. To serve someone who can never repay you is to taste the purest form of love, the kind that lingers long after you are gone. Chapter 10. Prepare your heart for the journey ahead. As the final chapter of your life draws near, a profound awareness emerges: life is not measured solely by accomplishments, possessions, or accolades. It is measured by the depth of your presence, the love you shared, and the peace you carry in your heart. Preparing your heart for the journey ahead is about cultivating clarity, acceptance, and gratitude, qualities that allow you to meet the unknown with courage and serenity. It is a sacred task, one that can transform the closing of your life into a passage of grace rather than fear. Preparation begins with reflection. Look back over your life without judgment, acknowledging both the triumphs and the regrets. Recognize the moments when you lived fully and the moments when fear or hesitation held you back. Accept the parts of your story that cannot be changed, and honor the growth you have achieved. Reflection is not dwelling in the past, it is learning from it. It is the conscious act of turning your life into a mosaic of lessons, insights, and memories that you can carry forward with peace. Forgiveness is a crucial part of this preparation. It is not limited to forgiving others, though that is important. You must also forgive yourself. Forgive the mistakes, the missed opportunities, and the times you did not live up to your own standards. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is liberation. It frees your heart from the weight of resentment, guilt, or shame. It allows you to enter the final chapters of your life with a lightness that no material possession could ever provide. Gratitude is equally essential. Take stock of the blessings you have experienced, the people who loved you, the opportunities that shaped you, the simple joys that often go unnoticed. Gratitude opens the heart. It reminds you that even amid struggles, life offered moments of beauty, lessons of wisdom, and experiences that enriched your soul. By embracing gratitude, you shift your focus from what is ending to what has been meaningful, allowing your final days to be filled with appreciation rather than regret. Preparing your heart also means embracing faith, or, if you do not follow a particular religious tradition, trust in the greater mystery of life. Faith is not merely belief in what comes after death, it is confidence in the continuity of life's meaning. It is surrendering to what cannot be controlled while trusting that your life, your love, and your efforts have left an imprint that will endure. Faith brings courage, comfort, and a sense of alignment with the eternal rhythm of existence. As part of this preparation, consider the legacy you wish to leave behind. Reflect on the lessons you want to pass on, the love you want to imprint on the lives around you, and the values you hope will continue after you are gone. This is not about vanity or recognition, it is about intentionally shaping the impact of your life so that it resonates beyond your time here. A well-prepared heart leaves peace in its wake, not confusion or unfinished business. Equally important is making peace with uncertainty. The journey ahead is unknown, and the human mind often fears what it cannot anticipate. Accept that uncertainty is part of life's design. Trust that you have lived, loved, learned, and grown. Release the need to control the timing, the circumstances, or the outcome of your final transition. The heart that accepts uncertainty is free to experience the fullness of what remains, even as it prepares to let go. Finally, prepare your heart through presence. Be fully present with yourself, with your loved ones, and with the world around you. Cherish conversations, savor quiet moments, and notice the beauty in simple things. Presence is the gift of awareness, it allows you to greet each remaining day with intention, to offer your love without hesitation, and to face the journey ahead with dignity and calm. When your life reaches its horizon, a prepared heart is not anxious, regretful, or heavy. It is calm, open, and grateful. It understands that life's greatest value lies not in what was accumulated, but in what was given, shared, and felt. Preparing your heart is the final act of courage, love, and wisdom, a declaration that your journey, though nearing its end, has been fully embraced. May your heart be ready. May it carry peace, gratitude, and love into every remaining moment. And when the time comes to step beyond this life, may you do so with a sense of completion, fulfillment, and serene anticipation for the journey that lies ahead.